So I've been looking at new cars, folks. I think it's time to get rid of my old Scirocco. I've had 6 years past January there, and it's actually the longest I've ever owned a vehicle. I used to change my car every 2 or 3 years. There was at one point back in time where I had 3 car loans at the same time. This was before mortgages and council tax and Sky bills. So I've actually owned my Scirocco for about, must be about 3 years, I guess. So I'm going to have to swap it out for something good. It's never missed a beat, my car. It's been a fantastic car. It's on about 111,000 miles now. I think I'm the 3rd owner. I had about 70 on it when I got it. So I've done just over 40,000 miles in 6 years. And it's not the car I intended to buy. It's a Volkswagen Scirocco TDI 170. So it's 170 brake horsepower, and it's an auto DSG dual clutch. It's got a panoramic roof, it's got full leather, it's got electric folding mirrors, carbon covers on them, it's got xenon headlights, touchscreen sat nav. It's got £7,500 worth of factory options on it, which is mental that somebody actually paid all that for extras on a Scirocco. But I'd been actually looking. I had a Golf GTI edition 35 that was about 240 horsepower, the one I had. It was white, 3-door, black leather, DSG. It was quite good spec as well. But I just didn't like it. There was something I didn't like about it. I felt as if it had way too much power for a front wheel drive car. But then I thought, I want a Scirocco R. That's what I really fancied. They're about 270 horsepower. Then I thought, that's going to be as bad, if not worse. And then the other one than the GTI was. So I stumbled across this TDI, and it had all the spec and all the bells and whistles that I wanted, except it was a diesel and not a petrol. And it's my first ever diesel car. I've had diesel vans for years on and off, obviously, but the Scirocco has been my first ever TDI car, and not disappointed. It pulls very well through the gears. It's very torquey, and it still does 0 to 60 in around 8 seconds, so it's no slouch. So I've been looking at Audi S3s and BMW 1 Series, BMW 2 Series, BMW 3 Series. So who knows what I'll end up with. I got a few quotes for insurance, because I've been bitten before. In 2011, I'm sure it was, a year after my heart attack, I bought a Subaru Impreza WRX wagon. It was about £3,500, I'm sure. And I had a BMW 130i petrol before that. It was worth about 15-16 grand, which I was paying £500 to insure. When I got this Subaru, my insurance was about £1,100, because young folk kept crashing them, and they were quite cheap by that point. So I won't be bitten that way. Again, with insurance, always get quotes before you actually hand over any cash. The Subaru was a great car, but I had it about a year and I sold it on for exactly the same amount as I'd bought it for. So that very rarely happens in the car world. So I've had an Audi S3 in the past. The year I got married, in 2004, I had an Audi S3 in Nogaro blue. It was beautiful. And I've always fancied one of the more modern ones again. I've had two S4 V8s in the past as well. 344 horsepower each of them. And 14 miles to the gallon with the manual one, 16 miles to the gallon with the auto gearbox. I had a saloon with the manual, then I had an auto which was the estate, the Avant model. I've been looking at the M240i BMWs, the M235i's mostly. They're the ones I'm most interested in. So insurance for them is around £500. There was a 340 I got a quote for just to see what it was like, how much it was like, and it was about 600. So mostly 500 for an S3 to insure for the year, 500 to insure the M240i for a year, 600 to insure the 340. It was a bit more expensive actually to buy, a couple of grand more. But these are all sub 20 grand cars, you know. And to me, spending 20 grand on a car is just mental. But in today's market, that's what you've got to do. It's crazy when you look at the price of new cars, you then realise why used cars are still hell of a expensive. A brand new Audi S3 for example, with a decent bit of spec, we're in upwards of £54,000. £54,000. So the S3s I've been looking at are around 10 years old, 11 years old, some of them. But it's just trying to get one with the right spec. I don't mind if I have to travel to go and get it. I won't be trading in my Sirocco, so I might need my wife's services to take me to pick it up. To be fair, I drove her down to Lancashire 2 years ago, I think it was, to get her Mini Cooper. So she owes me one. There was a time even before she drove us down to Blackpool in her Focus that she had at the time, and I was going down to buy a 130i BMW 3-door. It was a lovely car, that as well, but it was only about 3 or 4 weeks after I bought that I had my heart attack, and then I was off work for 10 months and it was parked up. The days it wasn't parked up, the wife would steal it, and it was getting parked in East Kilbride Town Centre public car park, and I think it had about 4 dings on it by the time I got rid of it, which was quite annoying. I lost about 4 grand in that car, I remember, in a year. Wish I'd kept it, they're pretty rare now. It was a limited edition model as well, I think they only made about 400 of them. So I've told you before in the past that I finally got into motorbikes after about 42 years. after doing the NC 500 with my mate Miller, who I went to school with back in the day. So my first bike, I'd been away I think in the August doing the NC 500 in my car with Miller and a few biker mates, and I thought I want one of them. So how do I go about that? And it's the whole, you need to do the CBT, you need to do the CBT, get your CBT passed, and then you can legally ride a 125 at most on the roads. So come January 2021, come January 2020 it was, COVID year, I managed to pick myself up a nice MT125, which some of you may remember from my channel, and I had that sitting there for about 8 months till I managed to get my CBT organised, again thanks to COVID. But I had the bike 10 days without the wife knowing. I managed to keep it a secret. The benefits of having a work depot to hide stuff in. But sadly, after them 10 days, or I think it was about a week after I bought the bike, we were told that our son Jack had a mass on the brain. So I thought, shit, we've just been hit with this news, and I've also got a motorcycle that I've not told the wife about. So by the time she found out, after 10 days since I bought it, that was the least of her worries, was I had a motorbike. We had bigger fish to fry with getting our son fixed. And thankfully they did. They fixed him up good and well. Fried his brain a bit in the process with the old radiotherapy. It was 25 sessions of that he had on the head and spine. The spine was for preventative measures. So he had memory issues, his tastes and food changed, and personality changed, and it was a lot to deal with. But we got there, we got through it. He kicked cancer's ass. Now 5 years on, his MRI scans that he's been going for it started off, it was every 3 months, and then they cut back to 6 months, and now it's every year, once a year since last month. He just has to go once a year for an MRI. But this boy's had 20 MRIs anyway, and then 5 years, maybe even more than 20, a couple of dozen probably. But he's a wee trooper, so yes. Now he actually swears like a trooper as well. But he is nearly 19, so we can't knock him for that. So that's what got me started on my motorbike. While he was going through all his treatment, there was only one of us that were allowed into the hospital, again during COVID times. So either I used to take him a few times, and my wife took him the most times. I was working during COVID, I had the work to do, and I had this wee MT125 parked up in my work that I started customising, making my own from the minute I got it. So that was amazing for taking my mind off the real shit that goes on in your life, you know. It was a distraction from it all. But paid off, and here I am on my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this is my 6th motorbike now. My 3rd big bike. A 4th big bike. It's mad. You count a G310 as a big bike because you can't ride it in your CBT, even though it's only 34 horsepower, I'm sure. The same with my 500, that had only 47 horsepower. But 47 horsepower compared to 15 horsepower on the 125s I had. Ended up I'd bought one of them R125s as well, the YZF-R 125. Just wanted to see what a sports bike was like to ride, you know, compared to the naked upright seated position of the MT 125. And I found it it was a bad influence, despite having 15 horsepower. Just the whole crouched, bent over seating position just made you want to ride faster around corners and stuff. It was bizarre. So I opted not to buy any more sports bikes, although I think I would have a sports tourer in the future. But I think the adventure bikes or naked bikes is the sort of way I would go. I was almost buying a bike about a fortnight ago there, a Ducati of all things. But it wasn't your fast ass red Ducati. It was one of these. I'll put up a picture actually. And it's a Ducati Scrambler 400. Not the 800, the 400. Although you can get the 800 for a similar price to the 400. But I just wanted the 400. I thought I want another light bike. It's very chuckable, gives you mega miles per gallon, and is generally awesome fun to ride. But then I realised I've ridden this bike less than I've ridden any bike so far, pretty much. But I'll just stick with one bike for now, and I'll get a new car hopefully in the next couple of months. So I think I'll just leave this at this, folks. The rain is on again. I've got the majority of bikes in front of me now. I think that's Chukter on a bike behind me. Ron, who gave me a keyring for today's event. So that was really nice of you, Ron. Thanks for that, mate. I passed on a couple of stickers to him. And I'll see him tomorrow, as well as all the other guys. Because this is a 2-day trip. 2-day ride out. So fingers crossed the weather's a bit better for them. So adios, take it easy folks, peace out, cheers, take care.